this fucking guy is gonna get all wired up. He's gonna get all fired up on Monster Energy
And Kratom.
and he's gonna Kratom, and he's gonna kick the shit out of both of us.
Oh no!
He's gonna put me right through the table, choke slam.
Well, I told him to take some kratom, hoping it would calm him down, but I don't know. It might have the opposite effect.
I'm a little wore out yesterday. Jess wore me out. So Big Jess put it on me yesterday.
She killed you. I saw it on our Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't nothing XXX rated or anything. It was on the Instagram. If anybody's wondering, if anybody wanted to know what I meant by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys got into it.
You know what? Though, I have to admit, I was disappointed because you're a seasoned veteran wrestler. You've been around the block several times, and then to see you like. I didn't even understand why you locked up with her. I mean, you got to use your intelligence. You got to use your ring experience. There were so many other things you could have done, but to tie up with a powerlifter like that is a huge mistake.
Exactly. I screwed up because I'm not here every day at Super Train Gym.
You haven't seen the progress.
Right. So last time I was here, she
actually was deadlifting more like 3 plates, so you weren't intimidated by that.
And
now she deadlifts over 4 plates.
Yeah, and she put me flat on my ass, which was embarrassing.
So you had no idea that was coming.
No, look at it, Jesus Christ!
Boom!
Like a grizzly bear, like an albino grizzly bear.
Jesus, I could watch this all day. Man, this is kind of
we can't let this get out. Because this could damage my career.
I mean, I would say it's embarrassing, but really the strength of the women nowadays, like, it's not embarrassing. You see these girls on Instagram, what they're lifting?
Yeah. You know what? And some of them I want to call out because I'm not. I'm not.
You think you're calling fake plates or what?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a seasoned power lifter or anything, but you see some of these Instagram lifts and you're going, can they do that in a meet? Can they?
What's going on here?
Right, and they got some strong women out there. They got some women out there that are kicking ass. They got some guys out there that are kicking ass.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of controversy around powerlifting and Instagram lifting. You'll see the Brad Castleberry effect, right? I mean, obviously the guy's strong.
Yeah.
But everybody's saying, hey, why is this guy not competing in a meet? Why is he not doing this? Why is he not doing that?
It makes some sense, too. Like, if you're strong and you can throw around, you could throw around 4 or 5 plates. If you can sneak a fake plate in there, then that puts you on that next level, right? I mean, going from 4 plates to 5 plates on something's a big deal.
It is. It's huge. I mean, and just to do, 3 plates is a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like very strong, right? I mean, I'm stronger than your average guy because I'm especially thanks to you for helping me with my lifting. But if I go in the gym and I'm putting up 3 plates, 3 plates and a quarter, for me and for the average guy, that's a lot. That kind of stops the gym where I'm at down in New Orleans. People are like, man, is this guy really going to lift that much?
Yeah.
And then I come here and I see like Marcus load everything up. And I just want to pack my bags and go home.
7 plates, 8 plates. It just never ends, right? They just keep stacking on those weights.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I need to up my testosterone.
Anyway, everybody, welcome to Mark Bell's Power Project. We're here today with my boy, Luke Hawx. Known Luke for a few years now. Luke is a pro wrestler, along with a stuntman, along with an actor, along with a very handsome son of a bitch with some huge-ass arms over here. And, I wanted to get Luke on the podcast today. I think we podcasted before, right?
A couple years ago, we did a podcast, and it was wonderful, and I appreciate that. I think that was probably my favorite podcast ever because it was completely different. Normally, when I'm on a podcast, I do a lot involving wrestling. And it's always the same BS questions.
Right.
Who trained you? How long you been wrestling for?
Right.
This crap. It's like anything you can obviously go online and look up right away, like when you pull my name up on the. So I had a lot of fun when we did our first podcast, so I'm really looking forward to this one today.
Yeah, and I think last time, too, I think we went in a little bit on your history, your background, and stuff like that. And I'd like to dive into that again just because it's been so long since we've had you on. I'd like to talk about that again. But before we dive into that, I want to talk about you've had a great transformation. I mean, you were in good shape the last time I saw you, but you also have you got yourself into way better shape. You did a photo shoot. You looked amazing in the photo shoot. And what I like about it is you're still carrying around a better body now than you had 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
Well,
What are some changes you made?
actually my training's been off right now, so I'm not in as good of shape because I've been filming like 15-hour days for the last month. So
What you
like,
working on?
I just finished 2 projects. I did a Netflix movie with Jamie Foxx that's directed by Henry Just and Rael Schumann. Oh, we hear that?
Is that your stomach?
Yeah, that's actually I got gas, so excuse me.
I
But
looked outside and the scissor lift went away, so I don't know what.
It shouldn't be here too much longer, right?
should we pause this?
We probably we probably should pause this and come back because we don't know how long it's going to last, and that might make us
It's terrible.
that might make us a little bit crazy. So we apologize. We don't have any control. Somebody's working on the roof, and I checked outside to see if that scissor lift left, and it did leave. Probably went to In-N-Out Burger and came back.
Lunchtime. Okay, so then we'll just we'll fade to black for now. We'll keep the stream going, and we'll check back in with you guys in a minute.
All right.
And we're back.
And we're back. Sorry about that. We had somebody working on the roof, but we're back, and we're here with Luke Hawx, and this is Mark Bell's Power Project. And I was talking to Luke about getting in shape, and for myself, getting in shape for that bodybuilding show. Even though I'm not in the shape that I was for the show, I'm still in better shape than I was previously. And this is a great lesson for a lot of you guys and girls that are listening right now. That if you get in shape for something, it's going to force you to get in better shape than you normally would ever be able to get into. And then you don't need to worry about trying to hold on to being in that exact same shape forever. But what you do need to do is try to be responsible and try not to get back further than you were before, and also try to hold on to something that still looks better and represents you better than ever before. And that's what I've been able to do. I noticed that in Luke, and so that's what the question where we kind of left off was, how do you get in better shape?
I think it's all about pushing yourself, right? And always striving to be better or do something different or conquering one goal and then moving on to the next goal. And like I was saying, since I was on this film project I was on for like a month straight, I was working 14 to 15-hour days every day with one day off. So I was really only hitting the gym maybe once or twice a week, and obviously you kind of slack when you do that. So I'm not in bad shape now, but now I just wrapped. It was Henry Joost and Rael Schulman project with Jamie Foxx for Netflix. If you're familiar with those guys, they created Catfish. They were the directors of that TV show Catfish, and they also directed a bunch of films like Paranormal Activity 3 and 4. So this was a big project. It's an untitled project right now. It doesn't have a name yet. They were tentatively calling it Power, but obviously the TV show is called Power,
Right.
so it won't be called that. But the point of this movie is they have this drug dealer, and he invents these power pills. And when you take these pills, they give you all these mutant-like, X-Men-like abilities.
It's like a mushroom in Mario Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. The same thing. It's like
Or
Trin.
that big flower in Mario Brothers. Boop, boop, and you can shoot out the little fire and shit like that.
It's like Trin at Gold's Gym.
Oh,
you know?
there you
It's like,
Wait, they sell Tren at Gold's?
no.
Hello? Huh?
So,
No one ever offered when I was going in there. I'm the skinniest guy there. No one said one thing.
Yeah.
hey, brother.
That's not customer service.
let me
That's
help you out.
bullshit.
We
Hey,
got
when they ask you if you have any Tren, that means they're trying to sell it to you.
Do they have like Black
Oh.
Friday sales on Trin and stuff?
They should.
Like,
Dude, I always wanted to go to the Arnold and have like some steroids there, like legitimate steroids, and just see how long and how much money you can make. Who cares if you get shut down? It'd be a great story. It'd be a great YouTube video.
Yeah. We'll just shut down and start up
just
as
like-
a new company, and you're
Yeah.
good to go.
Just literally selling steroids right there on the spot.
it doesn't have to be FDA approved, right?
Bottles of test.
Just
bottles
say
of Tren.
this isn't for human consumption.
That's right. That's right.
You know what would be great too is I know. You know what would be great is to put them next to each other too. You got a bottle of testosterone, you got a bottle of Tren. You know the Tren would sell like wildfire. YouTube and the internet has already done all the marketing for you.
Yeah.
People would be like, testosterone, what's that? No, I don't want that. Isn't that steroids? And be like, yeah, you want to go with the Tren.
I'll tell you my first steroid story.
Trust me, buddy, you want to go with the Tren.
I was sitting in our wrestling locker room in Atlanta, Georgia, and they had this big jacked up wrestler, and he was jacked. I mean, he's more jacked than anybody else around, right? And the guy, one of my friends who was a referee, who was in good shape, a little skinny guy, but always in great shape. And he goes, yeah, man, yeah, he's taking steroids. He had some shit in here last week, and it had a horse on the bottle. And I was like, what? It had a horse? He goes, yeah, he's shooting some stuff up that's supposed to be for a horse. And that was like the first time I ever really.
Say today in say today.
And the Super Training Classic coming up in February. It's my first powerlifting
Hell
meet.
yeah. The
So-
Super Training Classic.
So I got to get my shit together.
Yeah. Those of you that don't know, we had the Super Training Classic last year, and it went over really well. We had Brian Shaw come out and did some exhibition lifting, and I did some lifting as well, and I'm going to lift again this year. I know that along with Luke Hawx, we got Matt Vincent is slated to come out once again. Jesse Burdick will be there.
Louisiana boy, by the way, Matt, my boy.
Louisiana in the house. Maybe a little Wayne will show up to help represent.
Shoot a little music video.
It would help represent even harder, right? But yeah, last year we had a great time. You're allowed to wear a slingshot for the bench press, or you can just bench press raw. It's a push-pull contest, meaning that you push something, bench press something, and then you pull something, meaning that you deadlift something. So I think my brother's going to come up to that again this year. And last year, I think my brother deadlifted like right around 400 pounds.
Speaking of your brother, man, he's been kicking ass, huh?
I know. That's what I was about to say, because he did around a 400-pound deadlift there last year. I want to say he did like 418 or something. And it wasn't really, from what I remember, it wasn't like easy. It was kind of hard for him. He's got 2 fake hips and all kinds of shit.
And if anybody hasn't seen yet, you go to his Instagram page, Big Strong Fast.
On IG, yep.
He took a picture this morning in memory of Mad Dog and Mad Dog's tights.
Yeah.
And Chris is jacked to the gills.
He looks amazing.
I'm like, Jesus Christ. Now go back and watch one of his old films. You bring it up right there. Now, if you go back and you pull up something from Prescription Thugs, like when he's interviewing people in there, when he's heavy, and you go and look at this picture, and I don't know what the time lapse is between it, but I mean, just such an amazing transformation.
Yeah, I would say it's really only, well, you know what? It's probably been about 4 years from Prescription Thugs till now.
And look at the cuts in his shoulders. That's not, Jesus. He looks better than me. I'm jealous.
He looks awesome right there. That's a really good picture. Yeah, he's been doing great. But like last year, like I said, he pulled 400. Maybe he did a little bit more. But now he tried a 585 deadlift the other day. He didn't get it. But he has hit a 545 deadlift. And when he did that, he did it fairly easy. So he's just been, I mean, it's been amazing to watch.
So the first time I came to Super Training, Chris came up here with me. And obviously Chris introduced us. We didn't introduce here, but he introduced us down in L.A. But then you said I can come up, and came up with Chris. And I remember Chris telling me, pulling me aside, because Chris is one of the people I hold dearest to my heart. Good friend of mine.
He's amazing, isn't he?
He is. Very inspirational.
He's the biggest smelly fan on the planet. He just never he never shuts up about me.
He loves you. He's proud of you.
I'm proud of him. I love him too, but he just was relentless.
So he pulled me aside when we were here lifting, and he told me how much it was killing him that we were lifting and that he couldn't lift because he was in pain from his hips and his shoulder and everything. So to see, and at that point, he didn't know if he was going to ever lift really again.
Yeah.
And now look at him.
Yeah, he's crushing it.
Dude, I texted him the other day, and I was just like, I'm proud of you, and it's fucking awesome.
That's great. You know what? To me, I think it's all about just, you got to hang in there. You got to really hang in there. And you have to try to hold on to the things that you can do and the things that you enjoy. And you have to really try really hard. And these are all things that are easy to say, but they're hard to do. You got to block out the shit you can't do. You got to block out the negative. You got to block out, okay, you're in pain. Are you in so much pain that you can't walk? Like if you can walk, there's kind of that old saying, if you can walk, you can run, right? So if you can walk, maybe you don't physically run, but if you can walk, you can play. You can get in the game. You can still stay in the game. What are things that you enjoy? Maybe when you go to the gym, maybe it looks different than it did 5 years ago. But maybe over a period of time, maybe you work yourself back into being able to do more of the things that you enjoy. Maybe you work your way into being able to do things from when you were younger and things like that. I feel better now than I ever have.
And it's all about making footsteps to move forward. So, and finding new things. Like I told you, every time I come to Super Training, I try and take something home with me where I learned something.
Not from our store, though, right?
Well, if you're not looking.
You can't trust Luke Hawx. He's a lifetime heel.
Win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
And I want to apologize to everybody listening today if Andrew has to put closed caption up for my ghetto-ass Cajun twang. You know, I got that little, it's my southern charm. It's what I got going for me. It's about all I got going for me.
I think you're just trying to use that accent for the ladies.
Yes, I pulled up a couple days ago when I flew in, and I was getting a rental car, and the lady checking out my rental car, I said, "How you doing?" And I told her something, and she goes, "Ooh, baby, where you from? I love your accent."
That's great.
Yeah. So
hey, it works.
It works. I got, like I said, it's all I got going for me.
You know, you mentioned as we were talking a little bit, we talked about your wrestling background and stuff, and you mentioned a referee. I want you to try to explain to people that because the referee is a funny position, and if you don't know anything about wrestling, I guess the referee is a real afterthought. You don't really think about it much, but that guy's very active in the match, and then also like they take their job just as seriously as the wrestlers do.
And most referees are actually wrestlers or past wrestlers or former
Yeah.
wrestlers or guys who got hurt and couldn't wrestle anymore. So what I do at, excuse me, this monster got me burping.
Uh-oh.
What I do at my school is when guys come in that want to be referees, and if they're in really good shape and it looks like they take care of themselves, I ask them, what brings you to wanting to be a referee? And they'll tell me. But then I'll say, you ever think about wrestling? Well, I don't really think I have enough confidence to be a wrestler. And I say, okay, well, the difference between wrestling training and referee training is we start referees out pretty much the same way for the first about 6 months. But once you start learning the real fundamentals and as far as like move hold for hold, you don't need to do that.
Right.
You need to have the basics down. You need to know how to bump. You need to know the psychology of wrestling, things of that nature.
Yeah, because the ref always gets killed.
Right. So same with managers, right?
Yeah.
Because I get so many people hitting me up and they're like random people messaging me. And they're going, hey, bro, I know I could be a great pro wrestling manager. I'm funny. I'm this. I'm that. People will hate me. I'll make people. And I'm like, it's not that easy. You got to train. You got to take bumps. Well, why do I have to take bumps? Well, you see Bobby Heenan getting his ass kicked, right? Eventually, the baby face grabs him and kicks his ass, or something happens. Like, you have to be able to move. You just can't.
Yeah.
But they think it's, all show business where they don't have to do anything. They can just talk, or they're popular at home. So.
Well, if you're able to make someone hate you, then your next job is that
I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah, but if you're good at that, if you're good at drawing that heat and getting the crowd to hate you, the next obvious thing is for you to get your ass kicked by somebody.
Right. There's got to be a payoff, right? There has to be a payoff. Everything.
Yeah.
It's no different than powerlifting training. You train to get that big payoff.
What are some things that you learned from wrestling? Because I heard something yesterday. We had Per Burnell in the house yesterday, and he's a really successful photographer in the fitness space, and he was here, shared some stories with us, but he told us next week he's going to do some stuff with The Rock. I know you had the opportunity to work with The Rock before.
Yeah, a few times.
But one thing I thought was awesome is he goes, you know what? The Rock is great. I know anytime I've ever shot anything with him, anytime I've ever done anything with him, he goes around the room, shakes everybody's hand, looks them in the eye. And I was just thinking to myself, that's awesome, right? That's amazing. But I was also thinking, like, I learned the same damn thing from pro wrestling.
Right. Well, that's what you do.
What are some things you learned from wrestling that have carried through?
I've brought that to the movie set.
Yeah.
I treat the guy picking up the trash no different than I would treat the director. Everybody I go see, hello, how you doing? Smile, introduce yourself, no matter who they are. And I think I don't even just do it on movie sets. I do it in life. You see me come do it when I come to the gym here. Even if it's somebody coming into the store to buy something, I'm just happen to be here, I say hello to them, introduce myself, because I think that's what the world needs more of. Mm. Everybody's so negative nowadays. Everybody's so quick to judge each other or crap on this person or talk some smack about this person or judge this person on the way they look or they dress or who they're hanging out with. If everybody's a little more friendlier with each other, and you have to have a reason to not like somebody, right? Like, you can't just be negative. So I think that came from wrestling because we were taught to treat everybody equally. And if you don't, you get a bad rep from it. It's like, this guy has an ego. This guy has this. And, of course, some of the guys do have egos. And some of this guy wants his own dressing room, and this guy doesn't want to be bothered. But that's in any line of entertainment. Yeah. Like The Rock, okay? You take The Rock. The most successful man in Hollywood, hands down right now, right?
No question.
No, not even debatable. The busiest person I ever met in my life. And I've been around, top celebrities. I've been around everybody. I've been around Arnold, Stallone, Jason Statham. I've been killed by every top guy in Hollywood, okay? I've
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. I've died at their hands. I make a living dying. But The Rock was different. And I would imagine maybe Arnold was like this in his heyday, but when we were filming Fate of the Furious, the only time me and Rock talked was right before we were about to film our scene. We got face to face. Hey, man, how you been? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And as soon as they would go, action, we'd do the scene. As soon as they yell, cut, 10 people were literally running in. somebody shoving food in his mouth. Here, eat this. Somebody, I need you to sign this. Hey, Dwayne, we need you to do this for the next thing. Hey, they're talking over each other. And I was just going, God, how does this guy function? I mean, literally, how does he function?
Mm-hmm.
Because he never had like a free moment. I never, and I'm not exaggerating. I never seen him have a free moment. And you can only imagine if he's out on the streets, if he has to work out in a private gym, right? Because everybody's going to try and get a picture with him. Everybody wants to talk to him. Everybody wants to pitch this project to him. It's, but you're in that position. So it's a double-edged sword when you're in that position because you want to be a top guy and you want to be the biggest thing in the world. And you want to break these records and, just do these amazing things.
Right.
But your life also changes. So I can also understand how you don't have time to stop for everybody's picture.
And maybe some of the celebrities, don't go that extra mile the way The Rock does, because they don't want to be so inviting all the time. Because The Rock, I think everybody feels like they know him. They feel like they could go up to him and be like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" Like they could.
Well, we just had this conversation about your parents.
Yeah,
everybody feels like you know him. I just met Rosemary for the first time yesterday.
Yeah,
but I've seen her for 10 years now.
Yep.
And I'm friends with her on social media, and we interact on there. So it's like I've known this person.
What about Rosemary's transformation? When you look back at Bigger, Stronger, Faster, I mean, she was big, right? And she's lost. I mean, from that time period, she probably lost well over 100 pounds. But more recently, she lost about 80 pounds.
I think it's something in the water up here.
Yeah, something's going on.
It's everybody in this gym is just getting jacked to the gills, losing weight.
My dad has been pumping iron. He's been lifting. He's been getting after it.
Brilliant man, by the way. That's
like a lunatic.
It's amazing, right? And then but it's traits that you guys carry on and pass on to others. And I kind of had that same thing as where I started my wrestling league in Louisiana. That it was not there before. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
I brought it in. It took me years. I mean, we're still growing.
Yeah.
So we've only been around 7.5 years. But I bred this league of wrestlers who are all phenomenal. I have some very talented guys. And, as far as I was inspired by you, by your brother, by CT, the guys that took me under their wing and really helped me out when y'all didn't have to give me the time of day. And I'm not shooting any BS. You guys obviously are inspirations to a lot of people, and you drop a lot of knowledge on a lot of people. And even your friends, we're friends. I talk to you regularly. I talk to Chris regularly, but I still draw inspiration from you. And I feel like I pass inspiration on to other people. And I do it even with my son. You know how amazing it is to see my son follow in my footsteps and go to the gym. And I don't have to push him to go to the gym because he wants to outdo what I'm doing.
Right.
It kind of like a little competitive, but he just wants to be, and I see him get excited when he comes over to the house and we're joking around. He'll shoulder bump me and go, "I'm jacked up, old man. Woo!" And just getting hyped, because he's like, "I just left the gym. My guns are getting bigger." I see him enjoying and seeing the progress that he's making in wrestling and how he did it in high school wrestling and amateur wrestling. Last time I was on the podcast, I told you we were having a little trouble because him and he was at that age where I was getting really busy.
He's 20 now?
He's 20. I think it was his senior year in high school, and he was just kind of coming into being a man, and he was really aggressive towards me, like he had to be better than me. And we were kind of butting heads a little bit. We never had trouble, and he's a good kid. But he was coming to that age where I was starting to blow up in my career, so I was missing a lot more things that he was used to me missing things because I was always busy.
Right.
But obviously when you start getting busier and more popular, you miss more things.
Right.
So it didn't matter how many wrestling meets I woke up at 4 a.m. and drove in 3 hours to this meet.
Right.
If I missed that one meet, I was a bad guy.
Right.
You missed my meet this weekend because you were off wrestling. I was like, yeah, I'm making money. We got to pay bills, and I'm filming this. So, and we had it out back then. I don't know if I know we talked about some of it on the podcast, but we had it out. And, he was just like, "You were never a state champion wrestler. You never this. I want to do this." And I said, "Look," one day we stopped talking for maybe a month and a half. And we started talking again, and I had to sit him down. I said, "What is your problem with me?" And it was two things. And it broke my heart because when me and his mom got back together, we split up now, but we've been split up for years. But he said, "Well, when you left the second time, when you and mom split up, it really, really hurt me." And that broke my heart because he never told me that, And so I had to sit back and I had to say, well, just because me and your mom aren't together doesn't mean I don't love you. And
Right.
just because I'm doing all this, and I said, and it's not a competition between you and I. Like, I'm not trying to outbeat you in anything. I want you to be better than me in all aspects of life.
Mm.
And the reason I do the things, he knows the way I grew up. He knows about the boys' home. He knows about the drugs in our family. He knows about me being adopted. He's been to the past houses, and he sees how my grandma and my mom and them live, and like how they just he
Yeah.
sees everything, and he doesn't want to go there because it's such a bad environment, and so he understands it. And as he gets older, I'm like, this is why I'm working so hard to provide for you. I mean, I'm doing it for me too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I'm living my dream. This is things I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional wrestler. I enjoy being in films, doing acting and stunts, and I completely fell in love with lifting. Like, I love powerlifting and lifting weights and going to the gym as much as I love wrestling, and I never thought I would love anything else that much.
I want to reiterate something you just said because I think it's really important for the people listening to this show. We always talk about, doing better, but we always talk about, trying to get better all the time and all these different things. And we also talk about, you got to do right by your family and do right by the people that you love and do right by the people that you care about. Now, how do we end up with some sort of balance? Well, I think that what happens is we end up out of balance in times of our lives. And I think that's okay. But, put an end date on that. Put an end date on having 3 jobs, put an end date on some of these things. But also realize this, that it's okay to love to work. It's okay to love not being around your family just as much as it's okay to love being with your family. It's an important thing. So those of you guys out there that are hustling, that feel like you're not there to see your kids' recital of this or your baseball game, or you're missing this and that, it's okay to, A, you're doing it for the family, but B, it's okay that you're doing it for yourself too, because if you're not better and if you don't feel good as a man or as a woman, and you don't feel like you have purpose and responsibility in your life, then you cannot handle and take care of other people.
Right. And there's a difference between being busy because you're making progress or doing things you have to do to pay your bills and take care of your family, and going to the strip club and hanging out with your boys.
Yeah.
You're not, if you're missing it.
And also, as an example, somebody like Luke may have traveled from New Orleans to Los Angeles to go see C.T. Fletcher. What does that have to do with Luke making money for his family? It's kind of like, no, you're doing this for the betterment of our family? No, no, fuck you, Dad. Like, you're not here. And it's like, no. Well, wait a second. Let me try to figure out how this fits into the piece of the puzzle. I like to lift. Lifting gives me self-gratification. It makes me feel good. I like to look good, so it makes me feel good. The more that I feel good, the more I can help pour into other people. But if you feel like crap about yourself, if you're down, you've told me you have a family history of a lot of drugs and alcohol. What if you stop lifting? What if you get out of shape? And what if you fall victim to those same drugs and alcohol? You know what I mean? Like, so there's all these things that it's okay to chase down your dreams. It's okay to go for it.
It's not okay to screw people over, but it is okay to chase down your dreams, and you should go after what you want and
communicate.
And I tell everybody, like, I'm a huge advocate of going after your dreams, but being realistic about it.
Right.
If you, I do a lot of public speaking. I go to schools and talk to kids, and I was a part of Boys Town. If you're not familiar with Boys Town, it's based in Nebraska, but I was in Boys Town in New Orleans, and that's the boys' home I was in. Completely changed my life, but it put these rules and regulations and put some. It really just put stability in my life, because before that, I had none. I was literally 8 years old, running the streets. I would leave for 2 or 3 days at a time, and I wouldn't come home. And then when I would get home, my mom would be like, "Where were you at?" I was by this house. I was by that. Now, look, my son is 20. If I didn't hear from him in a day or two, which, I mean, we talk every day, or sometimes you don't, he's 20 years old. So, like, if I didn't have an idea, when he was 13, my son didn't go down the block by himself. So if I didn't hear, imagine being 8 and leaving the house for 3 days. This is how I would literally survive. There was a mall around the corner from our house called Esplanade Mall. And, like, we would bounce house to house. So I'm just using this as one of the places we were staying at. I would go to the fountain and I would dig coins out to go buy food every day. I would go there and I would dig coins out the fountain and go buy food. Go buy like a 99-cent hamburger to eat. And then they had a Little Caesars Pizza also
Pizza.
around the corner from that house. They had a guy there. I don't know what happened to this guy. His name was Perry. He was a really nice guy. He knew my situation, so they would close around midnight. I would go in every night that he worked. I would sweep up, I would mop up, I would clean the windows, and he would let me make pizzas and take them home. And that's the thing. I learned that from an early age. That was my hustle. So I would eat, because if not, I wasn't eating. Because my mom didn't give a damn. Like, she was out smoking dope,
Right.
drinking, doing whatever, because that was their priority. But the whole time I was told, I love you. I love you. This, that. You don't love me. It's like I'm dealing with the same thing. I was going to bring this up on this podcast, and I hope you don't mind me talking about it. I kind of touched base on my brothers last time and the drugs and all this. I have two brothers that were heroin addicts. One's now serving a life sentence in prison because he got busted armed robbery, robbed a pharmacy, stole the prescription pads, was in a stolen car, robbed a few houses. So he's doing a long time in jail. And if he gets out, which will be many years from now, he'll go back in because he just can't stop doing that. Like, he's been like that his whole life. Now, my other brother's recovering from heroin, and he's been clean over a year now. I didn't talk to him for several years. I talked to you last time about me having kids for a few months. He's got 3 kids. They're all in state custody now, all 3 kids. So about a year, probably about 6-7 months ago, I talked to him for the first time in about 5 years. He hit me up and he's like, hey, I'd like to talk to you. Will you come talk to me? And I had to go. He was at a rehab house in Lafayette, which is about 2 hours from New Orleans. I was going to go out there to, I had a doctor's appointment out there, actually. So I was like, I'm going to a doctor in Lafayette, a specialist. So, yeah, I'll stop in and get lunch with you, and we'll talk, and let me see how your progress is. I really didn't want to talk to him because it's just every time I talked to him, it pissed me off. It upset me. You know, it's sad to see someone that you care about in these situations. But I also knew that I had to take myself out of that equation because no matter what I did, it was never going to be. It wasn't going to have an effect on him. It wasn't going to help him.
And my dad said it in this video that we did for my brother. You know, today's the 10 years since my brother passed, and my dad basically said, eventually, doesn't matter who you are, everyone wears out their welcome. And it's a kind of a crazy thing to say about your own son or your own daughter or your, a relative, but how many chances are you going to give somebody,
Right. You can't. So
Yeah.
after several years of not talking to him, I went, he cleaned himself up. He's in this halfway house. So he had a decent job plumbing. He was making $16, $17 an hour and also getting like food stamps and this and that because he was with his girlfriend. They weren't married. So they had like all these ways to kind of beat the system, right?
Right.
And they were just blowing it all on dope, shooting heroin. So now he's cleaned himself up. He wants to get his life together. He's depending on me. I knew that he has nobody else to help him. And I'm like, you're so far in the hole. So I came up with a game plan for him. I said, look, this is what I'll do. You come back home with us. You can stay with me for 3 to 6 months. You have to save every dollar you make. I got to monitor your money. No going out with your friends. No doing this. No doing that. Because I don't want you to fall back in that same hole.
Right.
But this is a 34-year-old man. I got to babysit. I don't want to babysit anybody else because I babysit enough people. I run my company, and then, and I got my own kids and I got my girlfriend and I got my own life and I got all these other people who really depend on me that are really working hard and we're making progress together. But obviously I want to help my brother. Now it's been 4 months, almost 5 months in the making. He's been gone every night. He goes to work. He goes home. After he comes home, he leaves again with his friends. He's not shooting dope, but he'll go out drinking. He'll go out and do this and that, like hanging out. And then I said, dude, you need to be working a second job. You're in the hole. Well, why do I have to do that? I'm working every day. Why can't I come home and enjoy some beer? I don't know. Maybe because all 3 of your kids are in state custody. And I can't get through to him.
Yeah.
And he just sees like the jobs that I'm doing, the money that I'm making. Oh, well, you go work and you make just extraordinary amount of money for working a day or working a week on this film. I'm like, yeah, well, that took me 15 years of hard work to be in this position.
Right.
He doesn't see that. So like I'm to the point now when I leave super training, when I go home this week from super training, I have to have a talk with him and give him 30 days to get out of my house because I'm never going to be able to get through to him.
Right.
He's just spending money. He's doing this. Oh, well, I had to go here. I had to go there. I wanted to have fun this week. It was a long week. Well, I don't care how long your week was. I don't care how stressful your week was because, I have stressful weeks. It doesn't mean I can go screw up that week. It doesn't mean I can just go blow a bunch of money. You need to focus on getting your driver's license, on doing this. And I love him. And he's doing a lot better than he was doing. But I can't do any more for him.
Well, and people, they think they have a stressful week, and it's like, okay, your week is more stressful than parents that have kids, that have pediatric cancer,
or disabilities,
or your week is more stressful than the Rocks or the presidents, or it's like, yeah, somebody with a disability, right? I mean, there's so many things where it's like, hey, calm down for a minute. Okay, you worked 3 8-hour days in a row. Like,
yeah.
Let's all fucking celebrate. It's not, and maybe you work 10 hours and 12 hours, like a couple days in a row. And yes, we understand you're tired and you want to have a piece of cheesecake at the end of the night or whatever. But it's ridiculous, to not understand that your time is really valuable. You have to figure out ways of getting out of your own way in some sense.
And you have to do as much as you can to make progress. You got to be doing things that are going to make you better, not things that are just going to,
earn you a paycheck.
Yeah. So if not, you're going in that same circle again. And I'm always looking for ways to break the circle and do something different and do something more and what's going to better my future and how's this going to help this person. Because I don't just worry about myself. I worry about everybody. I worry about my children. I worry about my girl. I worry about my ex-wife. I worry about, like her family, her mom, people who are good, my adopted parents, like people who are good to me. So I want to be able to take care of anybody I can take care of any given time. I'm not looking for more mouths to feed necessarily, but I want to be in a place to where if I need to help somebody, I can. And you want to help people that are helping themselves.
What do you think would be something that would potentially work, to get through to your brother?
That's what I don't know. I thought this would be the awakening, and I know it's going to probably turn into a fight now. I know I'm going to deal with some issues because I'm going to be the bad guy because I'm going to tell him that he's got to get out and he's not doing it. And the other thing, too, is like, okay, so he gets his children every other weekend, and I love my nephews. I love them to death. But they're bad. They're bad kids, and they're in trouble. They just don't – they are not used to any kind of not just stability, but they have no rules and regulations. They've always been wild. No authority. Like it's always kind of like they grew up the same way I grew up, so I can adapt to it. I can relate to it. So when I'm with them, they're just tearing up everything in the house. So say like last week, I'm working 15 hours.
How old are they?
I think 14, which is the 14-year-old, is pretty good. He's like, because he's you can talk to him. He looks up to me. He wants to be a wrestler. He wants to lift weights. Cool. He wants to, yeah. So he's in a little trouble, but like he's a 14-year-old. And the younger two are, I think, one's 7, and I think the other one's 9 or 10. But they're bad. I mean, they tear things up and they don't care. So like you tell them, they don't want to listen, and it's just because that's how they grew up their whole life. They didn't have any rules, so do whatever. But like it becomes tough for me, and I'm just speaking from the heart because I know there's somebody out there that's listening who's going through the same situation. I go work, and I'm working 15 hours a day, so I'm not getting a full night's sleep. I still got to try and do the other things I got to do. I still got to work on my wrestling company, and like I have a day off, and say that day off Saturday morning. Well, he can only bring the kids to my house because that's the only place he has them, so he has them every other weekend. So at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning when I want to sleep in because it's my only day off for the week, they're up at 6 a.m. tearing the house apart, and I can't sleep. And I'm going, well, you're blowing your money. You should be able to afford a place on your own right now, but you can't because you're blowing your money. So who's stuck out in this situation? I got to put up with everything. And if they break something in the house, it's my stuff.
Right.
And you can't afford to pay for it. So, and it sounds like I'm a dick, right? Because It's like, oh, yeah, well, who cares? It's your family. You got to take care. But at some point, you have to draw this line and say, hey, I'm doing all I can for you. I'm not doing anymore. Like, you have to, or like when I talk to him, I'm a man. You don't have to tell me what to do. I'm a man. I can take care of myself. Well, yeah, if you're a man and you can take care of yourself, then you should be paying your own rent and taking care of these kids and doing these things that you got to do. And he loves his kids. He does. But it's the same situation with my mom. I grew up with my mom telling me, I love you, I love you, I love you. But you love me so much that you're smoking crack in the bathroom instead of buying me shoes and clothes and putting me in school.
Right.
That's not love. That's you have a problem and you don't know how to be a parent and you need help. And thank God that the court systems did step in at a time for me and put me in a system like Boys Town where I had some regulations and I learned these responsibilities in life. I learned how to do homework. I learned how to make my bed and go to sleep at a certain time and put me on this schedule that I wasn't used to. And I hated it at first because it was a life changer. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like taking a kid out the jungle and putting them in the suburbs. It's just not going to happen, right? If this kid's living off the land, you can't put them in a house. You know what I mean? Like it's like taking a wild animal and putting them in a house. You just can't do it. They won't adapt to the environment. So that's what it was for me. It was a culture shock. So now I got to go home and handle this situation. Sorry to air out my
It's
real
great.
life on
No, it's okay.
the Mark Bell Show, but
No, it's awesome. I think, you want to try to help as much as you can, but then you get into that, category of enabling, and it's like, it's hard, when sometimes you see some efforts and sometimes you see some sparks of potential and you get excited and you're like, okay, well, I can support that. I'm going to help that. I'm going to keep helping. Maybe somebody does overcome an addiction or they overcome a problem, but they're still not like even keel with society. Like it takes a long time. It's almost like rehab. Like if you didn't walk for 3 years, it's going to take you a long time to learn how to walk again. And so this process is really hard, and there's no good answer. That's why we lose, millions of people to drug overdoses and things like that. But I think ultimately one of the best things that you can do is turn your back on somebody and say, look, whenever you're ready to actually handle this in a way that makes sense, I'm here for you, and I always will be. But for now, this isn't working, and I'll see you later.
how did you deal with it with Mike?
It was kind of like that, I can feel. I don't even know the right word, but I guess I can feel good about the way I treated him.
Right.
I never mistreated him. I never was like, "You're a fuck up," like get out of my life. It was never anything like that. I always try to give him the benefit of the doubt. I always try to give him a chance.
But y'all are
And-
also a close family. Like everything,
Yeah,
everything I see from you guys, from not just you and Chris, but your mom and dad, everything's family,
Yeah.
family. And I didn't come from that.
We're a close family, but if you're a maniac, you're not hanging out with my wife. You know what I mean? So as things, as I met Andy and Andy came into my life and stuff, I was like, and then as I had children, I'm like, man, this breaks my heart to even say it, but I can't leave Mike with my kids because I don't know what he's doing. I can't trust him. And I think it's really important for everyone listening to the show right now to understand if you're dealing with someone who's bipolar, which is a totally separate category than drugs, but
A woman,
usually,
right? Oh, you talking about a woman?
yeah, yeah. If you're dealing with someone that's bipolar and or does drugs, the only reason why I mentioned the two in combination is because that Mike was bipolar, and he did drugs, and there's a lot of people that self-medicate and they try to find some sort of relief, from drugs, and it doesn't work. But if you're finding somebody doing that and you're trying to inject rational thought into their life, stop doing that. You're going to make yourself crazy. You're going to make yourself really sad. You're going to make yourself really upset. You're going to make yourself really stressed out because it does not work because they don't have rational thought.
They're on a different playing field than you. And that's just, I'm glad you bring that up because I do. At certain times, I stress out about it because obviously I care about my brother and I want to see him do good. And he's doing better mentally than he was before, but he's still not where he needs to be. So I'm glad you bring that up and you put that out there because that's something that even when I go home, that helps me.
Yeah.
And
it's huge.
And it will make me kind of feel better about myself because I'll feel like a dick for telling him that, hey, you can't live here anymore. And it's not because I don't love you, though.
Right.
It's just because you're putting me out of my way. You're putting my girl out of her way. You're not doing anything to better yourself. You're just doing the kind of norm. You're doing like the bare minimum of what everybody in life has to do. And let's be honest, life sucks. It's difficult, but it's what you make of it. You can have a good life if you go after it and you get after it and you do things. And the harder you work and the more you educate yourself and the things, you pick up what you put in.
Yeah.
So if I'm working, if you go to school and get an education, you're going to get a better job, obviously, if you go for a certain thing. The same thing with him working now. If he puts in the work and he just, don't worry about, because you work an 8-hour day, 5 days a week. Okay, well, you're in the hole. So you need to get a second job.
Yeah, or do something to learn about potential of getting another job.
Right, and
maybe you go back to school or you pick up a class somewhere or seminars or whatever.
Anything you can do to start making more money to get you back on your feet and get out of the hole. And once you get out of the hole, maybe you can step back a little bit and relax.
Right.
That don't mean take your foot off the gas, though. Yeah, because my foot, look, I'm busy. I know you're probably way busier than I am, but I'm busy. And my foot is never not on the gas.
Yeah.
Like I'm always, everybody is talking about, oh, you were in Logan, you were in Fate of the Furious. This is so cool. I don't give a damn. And that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate those two cool projects I was in. I was in so many films. I'm blessed with that. But I'm looking for the next project that I'm doing and the one after that and the one after that, because I never want to look back and go, I was that guy from that. I'm trying to make steps to go in a further direction and better myself and get bigger roles and bigger films. And I don't, I don't want to live on the past. I feel like my better days are still ahead of me.
Yeah. That's the way you got to think. Yeah.
Yeah. And and that's why I'm doing this thing like tagging with my son. My son's 20 years old. He's in great shape.
Tag team partners, ladies and gentlemen.
Tag team, baby. We in the house.
I love that.
So it's cool because who can get to do that?
Yeah.
Like how many guys that are in wrestling that are tag teaming with their son and can have a successful run, because I feel like I haven't hit my prime yet. And he's damn sure young enough where he has a lot, and he's talented. I'm not saying it because he's my kid. He is talented. He's taller than me. He's 175 pounds. He's, like I said, he's a way better wrestler than I am. He was a very accomplished amateur wrestler. He's way smarter than I am. I was the first person in my family to graduate high school. My son will be the first person in my family to graduate college.
That's awesome.
So he's a sophomore in college. He was in the top 10 percentile of his graduating class in high school. Fully fluent in Spanish and English. He's half Spanish. He's half Colombian. He's just a good kid. He was the homecoming king. He's everything. He's the poster child for anybody's family. That's what you want your kid to be. Like he doesn't screw up. He doesn't. Yeah. He's not worried about girls right now. He's not worried about guys neither. But he's not worried about girls. Like he's worried about getting through school and about wrestling. That's cool. He's coaching high school wrestling. So I'm very proud. It's cool because I often think that as accomplished as I am, and all these amazing things I've done, because I was supposed to be, in jail. I was supposed to be dead. I was supposed to be a drug addict. If you're looking at statistics from my background, coming from where I come from, I was supposed to be like the rest of my family. But something made me different. I think that something was my thinking.
And also, too, aside from just your thinking, just enough people caring about you at the right time.
Right.
Somebody placing you in the right spot or saying, you know what, that's not right what's happening to that kid. Like somebody else stopped and said, this doesn't make any sense. This is stupid. Right. And they took care of you.
Well, you fall into that category. So, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm getting a little teary-eyed thinking about it. It's amazing because take our friendship out of it and take out my friendship with Chris. All that came because of a freaking dumb movie. It's not dumb, but you know what I mean? Like a movie. A movie.
Right.
I seen Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and it inspired me so much because I related to it so much because of the situation with Mike, because of the wrestling, because of, lifting and wanting to, I wanted to better myself and I didn't know that much about lifting. Like all that was very inspirational to me, which, I got connected with Chris and connected me with you, and you guys provided me with opportunity to do things that I loved, and instead of just taking a picture with me and telling me to screw off. You guys gave me the time of the day, and
Right.
you cared about what I was doing, and you helped me. And I realized not everybody can do that with everybody, but I was fortunate enough to have that. And I was fortunate enough to have it with my adopted dad. So, like, he took me in at 15 years old, and I know that was difficult for him because at 15, you're pretty much a man, right? Or at least you think you are.
Yeah, yeah.
You think you can do everything on your own. You think you
yeah.
know everything, but your mindset is completely different at
It's still
25.
very immature, yeah.
Right. And it's different at 25 than it is at 15, and it's different at 35 than it is at 25. It should be, at least, if
Yeah.
you're making progress.
Right.
So at 15, I thought I knew everything. I thought I can do everything. I thought, you couldn't tell me nothing. And at somewhere along the line, somebody got in my head and made me think to shut the hell up and listen to somebody. So when I started doing that, and I started picking up things from certain people and different, just all around, I try and pick up something all around. That's when my life really started changing.
The guy that adopted you, and like, maybe you saw this even before that, but like, you ever kind of like look around and think like, okay, my living situation is really shitty, but there's other people that for whatever reason their life isn't as bad. Like they have, like life maybe doesn't have, like almost you could get the idea of like maybe life doesn't have to be that bad.
Well, yeah, but like you look back, and as I look back on things, like people always go, "Hey, did you think about suicide?" Of course, I thought about it. I never wanted to kill myself.
I think it's pretty normal.
But I always questioned why my life was so hard.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? Why do I have to starve? Why do I have to get in fights because I'm wearing my mom's clothes to school? Because I didn't ask for that, and it was
Right.
all out of my control. Why? You know what I mean? Why am I sleeping with no heat? Why are we sleeping on this freaking couch in some crackhead house? Why?
Yeah.
I didn't understand it as a child, and as I got older, I understood that it was because of the decisions that my parents made.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with me. So I'm thankful that I was kind of smart enough to listen to people and like accept, not be so close minded on having like adopt a dad, because a lot of kids in that situation. When I go to talk to kids at school now, some of them won't give me the time of day. Some of them just put their heads down and go to sleep. They could care less what I have to say because they know everything already, because they grew up similar to me. But there are a handful of them that want to talk to me after, and they want to know. And those are the kids I really reach out to, because I enjoy doing it, because I can speak to them and I can kind of connect to them and give them some positivity in their life and let them know that everything's not as bad as it might seem now. And if you really want something, you can get after it. That just because of your environment and your situation doesn't mean you have to be in that environment and situation for the rest of your life. If you want to get out, you're going to find a way to get out. If you want to be successful, you're going to find a way to be successful. If you want to screw up and you want to fuck up, guess what? You're going to find a way to do it. And that's not that hard to do. That's the thing, is it's much harder to do the right thing. And I'll give you a little piece of advice that I told somebody the other day, but Scott Hall, who's obviously had his issues in life,
Yeah.
always told me, don't do the right thing. Do the next right thing. So go above and beyond.
Right.
For, do a little extra. Do things that because that's going to really make your character, and that's what's going to make you stand out. There's always these things.
Just take your diet for one small example. Don't do the right thing. Do the next right thing. So that would mean that the meal that you have is a good meal, but you're also thinking about where's the next one coming from, or maybe even prepped your meal, right?
Right.
That's planning ahead, and you're allowing yourself to have an opportunity to succeed. But that's just one tiny example. You could take a shower the night before, so you're prepared for something really early in the morning. I mean, we go down the list of this all the time here on this podcast.
Yeah, you have to have a routine. Do you know Stevie Richards?
Yeah.
Are you friends with him?
I don't know him on that level, no.
Okay, so Stevie is one of my closest friends, and one of the guys in wrestling who really kind of took, kind of gave a liking to me when he didn't have to.
Mentored you, kind of.
Yeah. But this guy is in his mid-40s, in better shape now than he was when he was wrestling. I mean, he's always been in pretty decent shape.
Yeah.
He's been around forever. He looks great. He has a fitness thing. He's very involved in fitness. He has like some, he's got his like band resistance program. He does
Cool.
all this free advice too. Is like, and that's one thing that another person who inspires me because of, he doesn't do drugs, never went out drinking. So like you got this era of guys that he was involved in, and think
Yeah.
about all the guys that died, or
Oh,
all the guys,
shit, yeah.
especially that were around him.
Yeah.
Because coming from that ECW era, that he's one of the only active ones that are still wrestling that can probably still talk to you in a complete sentence,
Yeah.
and looks jacked. Like you look at him and you're like, God damn, man, you look phenomenal. After all, and he's broken his neck,
Yeah.
had multiple surgeries on
Shit.
different things. So I got to give a shout out to Steve because, he's another one who just puts out a lot of positivity and always looking to help people and not looking for nothing in return. He just wants to see everybody be better and do better.
One thing I wanted to say, back to when we were talking about, trying to be rational with somebody that's acting irrational. I want the people listening to this podcast, I want you to think for a second about that cousin or that brother or that person that's they're very rarely on, they're always late. They say they're going to be somewhere and they no show you. Like all these things, those kinds of things are characteristics of somebody that's abusing drugs. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're abusing drugs, but it could. And I want you to kind of think carefully about the frustration that you may have with a loved one or frustration you may have with somebody, because the frustration could simply be that they have a drug problem and you were never aware of it. And one thing that happened with my brother over a long period of time, I mean, he frustrated me a lot. It's easier for me not to cry about it now because I cried so much when he was here because there was just a lot of pain. It's very hard to have people in your life that are addicted to drugs and alcohol. And it was very painful for my parents. And so for me, it was painful to watch all that happen, and painful for my brother Chris, and painful for the whole family. It caused a lot of problems. But my wife told me one day, and I was just really upset. It was just another stupid situation that happened with my brother. I was just kind of I was sitting on my bed, on the edge of the bed, and I was crying. I was just like, I just can't take it anymore. Like, it's killing me. Like, I just, I love him, but fuck, man, like, this just sucks. And my wife's like, you know what? She's like, you really you need to stop applying rational thought to somebody who's irrational. She's like, who knows what his problems are? Whether it's the bipolar or the drugs or both or like whatever. But she's like, you're not gonna, she's like, I don't think it's, your job to really try to fix it. And I think that it would be best if you stopped applying, rational thought to someone who's irrational. And from that day forward, I never did that ever again. Because you want to help people, so you're thinking like somebody might be fat and out of shape, and you're like, that's it, you're going to the gym with me. But they're not ready for that.
Right, and there's nothing you can say or do to make them change their mind.
It wasn't his time to be able to make those changes. And luckily we still have Chris here, and he fell into a similar trap, but luckily he was able to turn the corner and able to have a moment where he said, I'm ready. I need to make the change.
And the cool thing is he puts it out there.
Yeah.
To inspire others and
Right.
let people know, hey, I did it, so you can do it. Because we're all in the same scenario, man.
No,
our lives are different. But
we're one banana peel away from being fucked up.
right.
You know what I mean?
Everybody's lives are really, we're different, but we're the same. We deal with
Yeah.
the same problems. We all have these problem people in our family. It could be yourself. It could be you could be the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how we realistically look at the situation and deal with it. Take a step back. I tell my girlfriend all the time. I tell her because like a lot of times, like my girlfriend's very irrational.
I think that's just women in general.
Yeah, I think so. But she'll blow up. She'll blow up like that. Like when something happens, like she just goes from 0 to 100, and it's like and I'm like, take a step back. Solutions, not problems. Let's look for the solution. How can we fix the situation, and what's the easiest way to fix this situation? Before you get all frustrated and you want to go off on this person or that person, why they do it? What happened? Is there a way around? You know what I mean? Like
She gets out a machine gun to kill a fly type of deal,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. So I gotta sit back and tell her to calm the hell down.
Yeah.
Sometimes I gotta go upside the head with the back of my hand. No, I'm joking.
But then she ducks, and then
Yeah,
she
that's
gives
right.
you a suplex, right?
And it's and then next thing, the chairs, tables, and ladders are busted out. And it's Royal Rumble in my house.
You got something, Andrew?
No, I was just gonna ask, like, what if you have somebody, but you don't feel like you're maybe the timing's not right to like let them go? Like you said, when you get back, you're gonna have to tell your brother, like, hey, you gotta get out of here. With Mad Dog, you kind of had to,
Yeah.
it's tough because like I went through a similar situation with my brother, and it's just like, dude, like I can't not be there for him.
And I think it just kind of goes back to the thing of saying like, I'm here whenever you're ready, and they might be like, oh well, I'm ready now, and it's like, listen, I'll say it again, I'm here whenever you're ready, whenever you're ready, whenever you show me that you're actually serious. It would be like, it wouldn't be any different if we wanted to invite someone into our group to train. Like, we take our training very serious, and sure, it's okay to have someone dick around for one day and like they come in and lift, but we don't want that person around forever. They're gonna kind of wear out their welcome. And so what we would tell them is we'd say, hey, you can come back and train with us, but it's going to have to be when you're ready, because you're not really pulling your own weight, and we don't have time for that.
That's why I always come every so often,
Wearing out his welcome. Like, man, every time he leaves, you're like, holy shit, I'm glad he's gone. He was weak, wasn't he? We all laugh. We watch the videos over and over again. Look at, he thinks he's lifting heavy
Look
weights.
at Jessica putting him on his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, she killed you, man. I still can't believe.
Still
I still
can't get
kinda-
over it. Yeah.
Her progress, right?
I mean, I'm not in shock, because she's strong, but I'm disappointed in you. I'm disappointed in you.
I might go home and I might hit that Golden Gate Bridge. I ain't even going home.
I think you should hit some push-ups or something.
That's what I'm going to do. You know what?
You gotta get that strength up.
I'm going to load up.
Rematch.
I'm going to make some internet orders, and I'm coming back in about 2 months. And Jessica, your ass is mine.
I think the last time, well, one of the times you were in the gym, you came off the top of the
Yeah, remember
off
that?
the cable crossover.
That's it.
Damn.
We
Yeah.
did that back in the day. We always have some fun training. And that's one thing I like about coming here, not just the environment. And I said this before in a past interview, is a lot of gyms you go to. When I first started lifting, I didn't know much about lifting other than going to a gym. I didn't have somebody correcting my form. Honestly, you, Mike, and Marcus were the first guys to take the time out of y'all's day and say, like, fix my squat and fix my deadlift. Because I didn't know anything about it. I was just imitating what I seen other people do around the gym.
Right.
And I didn't understand what I was doing or how it was, how I was making any kind of progress in it and what the benefit of it was. It was just like, hey, you're supposed to do these lifts.
Right.
Right? So
These are lifts get big and jacked.
Right. So and you guys were the first ones to take time out of your day to tell me what I was doing wrong and why certain things helped me and what I need to do to get better. So when I came here, like that environment, the gym environment where everybody stops and circles around you when you're going for a big lift and everybody's pumping you up. Now you do that at like a regular gym. The gym stops
Yeah.
and they look at you, but they look at you like, look at this asshole about to drop this weight on his head. And they want to see you fail. And nobody's there like, come on, man, you need some help. You got this. Let's do this. No, but there's no camaraderie. Everybody's just there looking around. And that was a big difference, man. And that's why I fly all the way from New Orleans, Louisiana to Sacramento, California to come here and pick up my workouts. Because I'm here to learn. I want to be around this atmosphere. I want to be around these. I mean, everybody in here, no matter who they are, like you see people just going after it and getting after it, and everybody's supporting each other, and everybody's like in it together. And I love that environment. That's like, thank you, because where else is that? Like, I love going like down to CTs and Metroflex and some of those gyms in like Los Angeles too, because those are like hardcore training environments, right? But they're different.
Yeah.
It's like, do push-ups till you pass out, and lift this way. It doesn't matter what your form is. Where it's here is like, hey, we're going to correct this and we're going to fix this on you so you're able to do better in it next time.
Right.
So you're able to fix your lifts and you're going to make more progress now because of this. So like that just, I can't even tell you enough good things about having that. And
This place is just inspiring too, because it's like, I mean, no, it's my place, so of course I'm gonna love it. But like the whole entire place is built off of a fucking elastic strap, that goes up over your arms and helps you fucking bench press more weight. It's like this simple idea, and the whole entire spot is like funded by that.
That's the key to the city right there.
That's it.
The slingshot's the key to the city.
That's it. Yep, it's the key.
So, and we got a good gym at home. Like it just opened up. It's called Valhalla, and that's in Louisiana in Metairie. The first real powerlifting gym kind of in that
cool.
area. Yeah, because like we didn't have that environment. It's all like kind of commercial gyms.
Right.
So this guy wanted to create this no nonsense gym where like who
Sick.
cares if like you take your shirt off and pose because you're flexing or if you're grunting or if you're
Got
because
some chalk or whatever. Yeah.
right because all these other gyms you can't do that. You can't put a water bottle on the ground. You can't you know what I mean? You can't they got the Planet Fitness bullshit. The lunk alarms like we don't judge you, but if you're big and you're strong, we judge you. Like if you're trying to make progress, we judge you. They want people to be, they cater to the non-real lifters.
We talked a little bit earlier about like the stuff you learned from wrestling, like the handshake and things like that. And you kind of mentioned about being like positive and things like that. And, sometimes, and you even mentioned social media. Sometimes when you see something on social media, and I don't know if this happens to you, but this happens to me. Sometimes, like, I'll go to make a comment, and, like, I always like to make a wise-ass comment. So I always try to, like, tease people and kid around and stuff.
It's fun.
It's fun. And sometimes, like, a lot of times, and it surprises me that I'm still this way, but a lot of times the first thing that comes to mind is very negative. And I have to audible. I got to call an audible.
Yeah.
I got to yell, Omaha, Omaha. And I got to call another play and be like, hey, dick, like, why don't you be more positive? Like, why are you trying to shoot down this person's progress? Does that happen to you?
Yeah, I mean, no, because people are fucking stupid, dude. Come on now. Like, there's no filter. Like, people are doing dumb shit online. That's why, like,
they're doing stuff, that
they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And some is because, they don't know any better.
Right.
But some are just fucking morons. And sometimes you got to tell somebody that they're a fucking moron. Like
doing stuff just for Instagram.
Right. So sometimes you got to do that. And it's cool, like, to be inspiring, but it's also, man, we got to have some fun too.
Right.
I mean, you pick on yourself, right? I've seen pictures where you pick on yourself or you do things like, I remember reading a comment and I laughed and I felt terrible for laughing because you had just said you just spent the $250,000 to join the
and then, IPF
and then they pulled it back and somebody put a meme of your face. And you and I was like, dude, that is funny, but I'm sure he's pissed because that's like $250,000.
Yeah.
But you commented on it and you're like, yeah, this is pretty funny. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, at least, like, I wouldn't be laughing if I had that kind of money.
Yeah, they had a picture of me, like I was just like somewhere else, and I was kind of making, I don't know, like a kind of
weird face.
Yeah, kind of a funny face, and it was like something said like that reaction you make when you find out your 250,000 didn't go as far as you wanted or whatever. Yeah, and I was like, this guy's brilliant. I was like, that's great.
But I was like, man. I was scared to like the picture. I didn't want to like the picture because I was like, damn, Smelly's gonna see this. He's gonna get pissed because he just lost $250K possibly.
Isn't that Isn't that kind of? I mean, social media is so funny. Yeah, like I better like this picture because like the person's gonna see it, or maybe I shouldn't like it because
they might be offended. I thought it was funny.
Yeah,
but that's the word. And, there's funny videos, there's sad videos, and I think the key though is just They're attacking everybody nowadays. They're attacking Kevin Hart, right? For the whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But let's be funny. Let's be more positive. Let's be funny. As long as you're not on there calling somebody, hey, man, you're a fucking piece of shit.
Right.
And you have no purpose in life. Like that's like going like a little overboard, right? Like but you don't really see that. It's more like picking or somebody joking.
Right.
And I seen a meme a while back was they had a jack chick and a fat chick. And they like, okay, it's wrong to fat shame this woman.
Right.
But it's okay to tell this woman she looks like a man.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that before too. I think they used maybe like Dana Lynn Bailey as one of the.
Yeah.
They had a heavy woman on the beach.
She big leagued me, by the way.
Dana Lynn all jacked, and it was one of those things. It was like, there's just a lot. There's just a lot of hatred being touted around, and it doesn't end up being productive at all.
No, and if you're out the normal, if you're out of the norm, you have to be prepared for some kind of hatred, because everybody hates things that aren't normal until you make them normal, until you make them acceptable. So if you have an idea that you're working on, or you're trying to be groundbreaking in something, prepare to get hate, but brush it off your shoulders. If you know you got something and you're sticking to something and you think you're original, push forward, man. Fuck the hate. Like
Yeah.
who like
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to care about it if you're occupied. If you're working, you're not going to care about it. You know, you were talking about like being really busy and stuff, and um, I think that keeping yourself busy is a really critical thing. You know, you talk about drug addiction and some of these things. I think some things that could possibly help would be that people at a young age are they get bored of shit.
right.
And to try to keep people busy. I mean, it didn't work with my brother. He played a lot of sports, did a lot of things, but things like that could potentially work. I mean, you want people to find some sort of self-worth, and maybe you can find something in a sport or in playing an instrument or something. But if you can find a passion, that's going to be something that's going to occupy a lot of your time and keep you very busy.
Right. Influence though as well.
Yeah.
It's who you're running with, what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You start to pick up things that you might not normally do. It's no different if me and you and Andrew are sitting in a room and I'm with y'all for a month straight and you start using a word that y'all are using that I've never heard. Like, in California they say hella.
Oh,
hella.
yeah.
Everybody says hella,
Yeah.
hella, hella, hella. We say woody and stuff down in New Orleans. Like if you're around us long enough, chances are you're going to start saying that or I'll start saying hella.
Right.
Because that's human nature. We pick up what, each other's doing. So that goes for all aspects of life.
Do you think that's something that happened to your family? Like, because we were talking earlier about how we know drugs are bad.
Man, I don't know.
How stupid it is to get involved and then end up, doing things like heroin and all this shit.
I often wonder, like, what. I don't put as much thought into it as I used to, but I wondered, like, were they a normal family at one point? Were my grandparents normal? Were they normal before that? Like, why is my family so bad compared to other families? And why did they make all these mistakes? And why are they all on drugs? Why are they dying of drug overdoses? Why are they all in jail? And
is the community part of it?
I think so, because poverty breeds ignorance. And I like to use that, and I say that a lot because, when you're poor, you're often that doesn't mean like rich people don't make mistakes. And like,
Right.
again, we know the kids that
Yeah.
like I know a ton of kids who grew up with
Oh yeah,
in great families and great households.
and
but they-
rehabs and stuff.
yeah, or they died.
Yeah.
Or they were depressed. But, poverty really does breed ignorance. They have this chip on their shoulder where you can't tell them anything if you're poor, because they're used to struggling and, they're doing what's around them in their environment.
I think maybe like because you're not used to being like maybe treated well, that you don't treat yourself well. Like I know, like I've always told people, I've been rich before I've ever been wealthy. I always felt fulfilled. I always felt good. The only thing that didn't make me feel good is like school. Like I just didn't do great in school. But
You didn't like
other than that, like I kicked ass when I played sports, and I put a lot into it. I tried to, like for football, I worked out hard and these different things. But I always tried to
You were passionate,
I always tried to treat myself well, as much as I could to try to make myself feel good.
but you had goals and you were passionate.
Right.
And you had a good family. Your parents were supportive, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's like the thing with my son. Like, I wasn't able to make progress in wrestling early on, like high school wrestling and stuff, because obviously I had my youngest son in high school, who's 20 now, but he doesn't have the same struggles that I had.
right.
He has good family background. He has me. He has his mother. He has his grandma. He has his aunt, we all raised him together.
Right.
So he has this love from all over. He's not missing any love, even though like we didn't grow up in the same house every day together because me and his mom were separated. He still spent a lot of time with me. He spent a lot of time with his mom. He spent a lot of time with his grandma.
Right.
A lot of time with his aunt, and he was just getting love, love, love from all over. Everybody was taking care of him. Everybody.
Maybe
was
this
coming
just
to his
comes
image.
down to just parenting, period, or
Of
somebody
course,
looking after the
Now,
child. And
somebody's still going to screw up though. Kids are going to
Yeah.
screw up,
right.
and again, that has to do probably with a lot of influence. If you raise them right and you put yourself in the right situations, like this kid has to know, hey, don't go do these things because they're bad. Now, I knew when I was growing up, I knew stealing was bad. Even though my family was stealing, my brothers and my mom and like her boyfriends or whoever else, like I wasn't comfortable with it. Even though they were doing it, I didn't want to be around it. I was like, no.
Yeah,
that's
we don't
bad.
have money. We got to do this to make ends meet.
Right,
you're like,
and that's bullshit.
Yeah,
That's a bullshit excuse. No, you go to work.
Right.
You
They
know
don't steal something
what they
from
used to
another
do, like
person.
they used to go break in. Like people would have these freezers in their backyard, like the deep freezers,
Mhm.
and they would go scope out yards, go in the deep freezer and steal the food out. Which some people might say that's not that bad. Well, yeah, it's still bad because it's still stealing. But the thing is, like, they knew it. Instead of going to work, they would sit around and buy dope and buy beer and sit around. You know, they just didn't work jobs, and they would steal from other people to get certain things. That's not acceptable, and there shouldn't be any tolerance on that.
It's almost more work too.
You're doing something right, and you're taking a risk, and like
in the long run, it's almost more work to like, to steal and do all these things. Like it seems like a nice shortcut, and maybe it is for the moment, but in the long run, it's not.
But you shouldn't take shortcuts.
No,
not if you want to be better. But they're never going to make their lives better.
Right.
And they'll always have an excuse. Like my mom always had an excuse for why she wasn't successful or anything.
She had drug issues, though, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And drinking and like, but there was always a reason why she had those issues.
Have you ever heard of it's called sparring partner syndrome? You ever heard of that before?
No.
So you've seen Rocky,
Of course.
right? So when they bring Rocky in to fight Apollo Creed, Rocky's like, hey, you know, just so you know, like I'm not going to take any cheap shots. I'm going to make a great sparring partner for Creed. And they're like, sparring partner? Like, no, we want you're fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. And then Rocky's next reply is like, oh, like, I don't know about that. Like, I wouldn't make such a good fight. You know, like he doesn't feel he's worthy
Right.
stepping up to the next level. So do you think maybe some of people maybe in your family kind of didn't feel enough like self-respect for themselves that they deserved something better, or they just don't know any better?
I think they don't know any better. But I mean, it also comes with, you know, I had a chip on my shoulder my whole life. I'm sure you had a big fucking chip on your shoulder, right? You wanted to be the best powerlifter. You wanted to do this. You wanted to do that. You wanted to kick ass. So, like, you came in very aggressive and you attacked things. So I did the same thing. Before I even knew about you, that's what I did in wrestling. I was like, because I was told my whole life, you're not going to be nothing. You're going to be in jail. You're going to be dead. You're going to be a drug addict like your mom. You're going to be. Nobody said, you can do this. I'm telling you, nobody. Nobody said you can be a pro wrestler, you can be a movie star, you can be a fitness guy. Nobody had. I've never had somebody back me. Now people tell me all the time, "Oh yeah, you're gonna do it. Awesome, you're gonna do really well," because they see like I'm persistent. They see I kick ass. Like I'm not taking no for an answer. You're gonna tell me no 100 times, but I'm gonna find a way to show you why you should pick me. I wasn't the first kid being picked on teams. I wasn't athletic when I was young because I didn't have any fundamentals, but I wanted it. And now all the kids that were athletic, all the kids that did have fundamentals are living either normal lives, which there's nothing wrong with, or they fucked their lives up because they made wrong choices in lives.
Right.
Where me, since I didn't have anything, it almost made me better because it made me fight and to prove to everybody how much I'm worth, how good I am, how much talent I am, how good I can be and what I can do. You tell me I can't do it? Fuck you. I'm going to shove it down your throat, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do more. So, I'm still like that to this day, you know, and I don't get told no as much, but it's not like nobody's just handing me everything, but people don't, they watch what they say around me now because they're like, yeah, because they know.
Yeah.
They know. I don't care.
They don't want to get burned.
I'm going to fight the giant.
Yeah.
I don't care what the statistics look like. I'm fighting the giant. He might get me, but he's going to have to kill me because I'm coming for it, and I want it. And I want it now to this day. You know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't go away. And as soon as I get what I want something else. And that don't mean I'm changing my goal.
Right.
I'm just making a bigger one.
Right.
Because I said I did what I was going to do. Now I want to do something else.
You're growing from it.
Yeah, I can never step back and just chill. That's just not me.
There's something I said on Andy Frisella's podcast a while back that he just loved. And I said, you know, you want to, your goal is to try to live the kind of life that tells people I told you so without having to say anything.
That's right. And you know what? I got that clip on my phone. I keep it and I play it and I say things, you know what I mean? Like there's certain things like stuff like that fires me up because I can relate to it.
But it's great that you don't need to go back to somebody and say, I told you so.
No,
you like
never.
They just know like, whoops, I was kind of wrong about that guy.
Yeah, but I mean the average guy, and I understand why. I want to get this out there. I understand why people are that way because there's so many people in the world that are full of shit, that are lazy, that say one thing and do another, that aren't trustworthy. You know what I mean? Like, go to Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go to Hollywood. You'll see it. But like, they're just
everyone's got an 8x10 photo. Everyone's an actor.
Yeah, exactly. And none of them are doing the work though, to put in what it really takes.
Right.
They're just looking for a come up. I told this the other day. People were asking me, I was speaking at this high school, and I was speaking to a group of kids. And this girl's like, oh, yeah, I raised myself. I do everything on my own. My parents, blah, 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 you know. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. So I'm kind of talking to her, hoping I can relate to her. And she's like, yeah, I want to be an actress like you. So can you hook me up since we come from the same life? And I'm like, no, I can't hook you up. You got to work for it. I said, do you have performing arts at school here? Yeah. Well, why aren't you taking theater class? Oh, I don't want to do that. I ain't doing that. That's stupid.
Right.
And I'm like, well, if you want to be an actress,
Maybe you should start acting.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you should start acting. Well, I'm not doing that. Well, then I can't help you. You know, like you have to put work in. Nobody's going to take somebody and just bring them
and
up.
imagine if she said she was. Like if she said, I've been doing it for the last 2 years, and like, you know, I got a headshot and I did this, and you'd be like, oh, okay, well,
show me. Yeah, let me see it. Let me check it out. Okay.
Well, then you might be like, oh, well, actually, you know, I can make a phone call for you.
Yeah, maybe you should talk to this person.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you should, or go to this audition. Maybe there's something.
Right.
People want to help people who are helping themselves, bottom line. Nobody wants to take somebody and just give you something.
Right.
You know, if that's the only way you're going to get better, if you start by helping yourself. So if you want something, fucking put your right foot in front of your left foot and let's go after it.
Yeah, you know, it's actually interesting that when you start to help yourself, then other people start to help you with open arms, and it's like you create a whole nother life for yourself.
And I always said I'm lucky. And people were like, dude, you're not lucky. Like you've been working and you've been going after and you've been taking chances and you were doing these things. You were sleeping in your car and you missed all these, you know, you made all these sacrifices to go after what you want to go after. And I'm like, well, I'm still doing that because I'm not satisfied and I'm not happy. I'm not depressed and my life is a lot better than it was growing up, but I'm not where I want to be. I'm still hammering the hole, bro. And tomorrow I'm going to hammer it and the next day after that and the next day after that. And no matter what comes along, I'm getting after it.
And keep working hard for it.
Keep it up.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to try to keep that, you know, keep that pace, you know. So like now with some of the stuff that you're doing when you're, you know, shooting these movies and doing all these different things, how do you keep your schedule going?
It's weird because you never know.
Do you have an agent?
No, I do everything on my own. So the way I get my little roles, I'll tell you a funny story. So I'm working on this Jamie Foxx movie, right? Like I just finished up. I didn't know I was going to have a little acting role in it. So I had worked on the film.
You're normally a stuntman, correct?
Well, yeah, I do stuntman and acting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and I get a lot of like bit acting roles because of my look and because of, you know, the way I talk, my southern charm. So I did some stunt driving in the beginning of the movie. Well, it's not actually the beginning of the movie, but like when the movie first started filming. So they had cameras on us, but they didn't see me. They thought they seen me because, like, you know, it was kind of like long shots and stuff. I was just fishtailing out this parking lot doing this getaway. And it was a cool couple days of work doing some stunt driving. Then they called me back to help out with some fight choreography. I was doing some, we were doing some choreography for the fight, very last fight in the movie. And that was,
And then some of that comes from your wrestling background.
Right, exactly. So some of that comes from my wrestling background. So we put these fights together for the movie. Me and this Corey DeMeyers, who's awesome, a really badass little stunt guy and fight choreographer. So Corey called me up and he asked me to come help with the fights. So we did that, and I was on this commercial for a Super Bowl commercial. I just got finished filming.
Cool.
I was doing that for and I was playing like this kind of like knockoff Thanos character, like this 3 hours of makeup, really cool scene.
Oh, shit.
So they called me while I was on set for the movie, on the commercial, and they said, hey, are you available tomorrow throughout the whole week next week? And I said, actually, I'm on this commercial right now. I got 1 day left to film in. He goes, well, yeah, you see that? Check that out. It was 3 hours.
Yeah.
So he said, can you make it the day after that? If I can push you starting a day, can you make it the whole week after that? And I said, sure. Didn't know what I was doing. Just thought I was coming and doing something. He goes, I have to make sure we didn't see you on the driving scene, though. If we seen you on the driving scene, I can't use you. So they went back, reviewed the footage. It was too far away. They didn't see me.
That's cool.
Yeah, they didn't see my face driving off. So when I get in, the stunt coordinator, Kevin Scott, goes, hey, okay, so you're going to be in the first scene when Jamie enters the room, and you're going to notice him. You look at each other. He notices that you notice him. You make a call on your security wire, say a couple lines, and then you and Jamie meet up right here, say a couple lines to each other. They didn't even give me lines. They said, you say a couple lines and y'all ad-lib something. And then Jamie's going to kill you. Because that's what I do. I die. So I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know going into it. I just got a nice acting role with Jamie Foxx, who is like a big-time A-lister.
Yeah.
You know, to add to my career and my credits and everything else, like all these amazing projects I've been able to work on. Yeah, that's us talking smack about the Saints versus Cowboys. He got me.
It's got your head all bloody, man.
Yeah. So it was
Dude, he jacked you up.
he jacked me up. Wait until you see the scene. I'm not going to give it away, but it was this
Why
really
did he
cool
do that
scene.
to you?
He seen Hugh Jackman do it, so he wanted to jock his style.
How many times have you died?
Man, too many. Oh,
Do you get
a
paid
lot.
extra to die?
Yeah, actually, you do.
Well,
So,
'cause then
you
you're-
don't-
you're
so
seen- you're
everybody,
done. You're done,
everybody thinks that you get paid more to say lines. Stuntman contracts are actually more than actor contracts on SAG because you're putting your body at risk.
Right.
And you're also getting your adjustments and everything else and your overtime. So I do a lot of stunt acting roles. Like my
Right.
acting roles always involve some kind of stunt because they want a stunt man who can act. So, you know, like I said, I just showed up to work for the week thinking I'm doing this fight and going to get my ass kicked. And I end up I have an acting role. And it's like, hey, we
That's
put
cool.
you in because we thought you'd be good in this scene. But Jamie, and y'all run these lines. And me and Jamie ad-libbed some lines, which was awesome. And everybody loved it. You know, and it's just, I live an awesome life, man. How cool is that, right?
That's great.
Because I'm doing these things that everybody wants to do.
Right.
And I mean, I'm going after it. Like I said earlier, I put in a lot of training. I went to stunt school.
I think,
I took acting classes.
yeah.
I did, you know, I'm not leaving any of that. I probably left it out of this podcast, but it's not like I'm sitting home waiting on a phone call.
Right.
I'm always working. Like you said, I'm juggling my schedule. Wrestling, I know ahead of time. People call, hey, we got a show February 16th. I need you that day. Okay, that's in my calendar. Hey, we got a show. You know what I mean? I'm marking down my wrestling schedule
Right.
way ahead of time. Film work is not like that. It jumps around so much because of weather, if they're shooting outside, this scene, that
And
scene.
they don't
this-
know 6 months ahead of time.
Right, they don't
Right.
know. So, like, they kind of give you tentative dates, but they'll call you, hey, are you available in 2 weeks for a week straight? I mean, I've had jobs where I had to turn down. My dumb ass, let me tell you how dumb I am.
Uh-oh. This might take a while. I better
Yeah.
take a pee break while he goes on. Hold on, I'll be right back.
All
You
right.
keep going.
So I'm going to tell you how dumb I am. At one point, I wanted to wrestle so bad for WWE that I had a tryout match for him. And I had worked several tryout matches in the past, but I had a tryout match, and then I got booked for 3 weeks worth of work on a film. A film called me up and they said, hey, we need you for the next 3 weeks. Are you available? Just to give somebody an estimate of what I would have probably made in those 3 weeks is easily between probably $15,000 and $25,000.
And who was the project with?
It was G.I. Joe 2. So they called to see if I was available for 3 weeks worth of work on it for stunts. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, what's the dates? And it was in the middle of my WWE days. I had 2 days of WWE to go make $500. Okay? So I was going to go make $500 for working 2 days at WWE. But that mean I got to wrestle for WWE. I got to get in front of their eyes, maybe a big opportunity because I wanted to be a wrestler at WWE at that time. Like, it's all I wanted to do. So I turned down the big money to go wrestle for 2 days for WWE and basically get nothing. And, I mean, you know, but that was my passion, though. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
loved wrestling so much, and I put all this work into wrestling. Still to this day, I'm a wrestler first. You know, I love wrestling. I love films. I love being a stuntman. I love being an actor. I love having these opportunities, and I work just as hard at them. But, like, I'm a wrestler first. That's what I did my whole life, and that's what led me into having a film career.
What drew
So-
you to wrestling in the first place?
Well, it's all I ever wanted to do. Excuse me. From the time I was, like I said, my earliest memory of wanting to be a wrestler is 3 years old.
Wow.
So anytime, like, I had this terrible life, but when wrestling was on, nothing else mattered. Like, it literally put me in this zone. It didn't matter if I was reading a magazine, and yes, I can read. I know what y'all thinking at home. I was reading a magazine, watching it on television, listening to it on the radio, because it used to come back on the radio back in the day. If wrestling was on, it just took everything, every problem in my life, and it put it out the window. So, and I knew from an early age that I wanted to be a pro wrestler. That's all I ever wanted to do. So that's why I chased it.
Yeah. So a similar opportunity comes up today.
Yeah, I'm going to do tomorrow.
All right.
So, and it's happened.
Yeah.
know?
So when it comes to your son, like you had kind of mentioned it earlier with like Stevie Richards, he's made it out. He's doing fine.
Right.
And then you hear about the stories with the other, whether it be pain pills or whatever. I mean, how did that like with your son? How did that come about? Like, was there a conversation? Did he just jump right into it? Were you hesitant at first?
With pro wrestling?
Yeah.
He just wanted to do it. He always, it was his goal. And then at one point in high school, he didn't know if he wanted to be a pro wrestler. And I think that was around the time we were having those little bit of problems I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was just saying that because he was mad at me and he was trying to like to get a reaction out of me. But my reaction was, if you don't want to do it, I don't want you. I'm not forcing you into it. I want you to do something that you love and something that you're going to enjoy for the rest of your life. And, I love you. You're my child. So whatever you do, I'm going to be supportive of you as long as it's, legal and not nothing bad. You're not hurting anybody. And it's difficult, though, because being a father, like, I'm tough. So when I go wrestle, I'm tough. I get my ass kicked. I hurt. I'm in pain, but I can take it. I'm a man. And some things are really freaking bad. Like you're in a lot of immense pain. I mean, Mark, and there's things like people don't understand. So when I watch my son do it, I'm not watching it as a wrestler. I'm watching it as a father.
Oh,
and it hurts
because I know it's brutal.
Right, because he's tough too, and he wants to. His first match, he split his lip. Not his first match, his fifth match. It was at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The very end of the match, he gets clotheslined in the face, put his teeth through his lip. And I seen it, and I'm like, oh my God, my baby. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, some of the worst emotional pain that you can have is like the pain that you feel for somebody else.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm fine. I'm like, no, you need to go to the hospital right now. And he did. He had to go get stitched up, but he's like, no, I don't need to stitched up. I'm just going to take it. And I'm like, dude, stop showing me how tough you are. I don't need you to be tough right now. I need you to go to the doctor and get stitched up. Yeah. And I need to fucking pay for your hospital bill, you little asshole. So,
are you worried at all about him falling into some traps that there are in pro wrestling?
He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's straight edge. He's never drank. He's never smoked. He's never wanted to be involved in any of that. He's been very much against that from day one. So he's one of those kids who makes a lot of smart decisions.
Wrestling's also changed a lot too.
Right. Yeah. It's not as bad as it used to. And I just don't think I have trust in my kid. Like he knows right from wrong. He has those similar qualities that I have. Now my youngest, the 7-year-old.
You've told me about him before.
Yeah. Everybody says a kid's smart, but my kid is legit in the top 4% of intelligence in the nation for his age group. He's been tested. He goes to the #1 elementary school in the state in Louisiana. He's 7. He's fully fluent in Spanish, English, and French.
And he's a savage, right?
Dude, he's a savage. And he tells you, I'm a savage. Like, he hit me. I don't care. I'm still going to be bad. That's what he says. You can hit me. I'm going to be so bad when you drop me off by mommy. And that's what he's just, man, I don't get it, man. Like, because they're night and day difference. Like, but he's always been that way. Like, he's always been mischievous. He's always he does my son the oldest son wasn't doing anything sketchy. Like, he wouldn't climb stairs. He wouldn't do anything. Like, the baby is climbing, jumping, throwing things. Like anything kind of daredevil, he's going to be a hell of something. I just hope it ain't the wrong thing when he gets older. So
he's got a lot of energy, huh?
I got a note from the teacher the other day. She sent me an email and she said that I just want to tell you we got some complaints from other parents for your son at school. One complaint was he was wiping boogers on a kid. Second complaint was he keeps telling these other children the word that rhymes with duck. And that's what it said in the email. And doing kid stuff. But that kind of don't fly at a really good school with and the other parents and so. But he's a 7-year-old. I got my hands full with that one. So
what do you do to relax and kind of chill? Because you got a lot on your plate, a lot of things going on.
I come to Super Training Gym, and that's God's honest answer.
There you go.
This is training is my escape, and it's difficult for me because I set goals. And
do you read or walk or meditate or go in a hot tub or go in a
Nah, it's coming to the gym, and it sounds like I'm kissing ass, but I'm just really honestly telling you the God's honest truth, being around guys like you, because where I'm at is I'm the big fish. And, a lot of people look to me for inspiration. They look
Right.
to me for advice. And, it's always me. Hey, Luke, what do you think of this? Hey, Luke, should I do this? Hey, Luke. So when I come around guys like you or, other guys I look up to, I just shut the fuck up and I watch what you guys are doing and I try and pick up some knowledge. So, and I, obviously I pay attention to your social media
Right.
and just things like that. And it's that's where I draw inspiration from because we all have somebody that we look up to, and we all have things that inspire us. And if you don't, man, I feel sorry for you because there's a lot, especially with the world of social media, you can escape into anything you want to nowadays. You can look anything up online. There's so much. I mean, you look up to Rogan, right? I know y'all
Yeah,
talk about Rogan all the time
absolutely.
and what he
Yeah.
does and his studies and stuff like that. And so I don't like reading. And I've been thinking about forcing myself to try and read, because I just never enjoyed it. It wasn't
Yeah.
something instilled in me. My youngest son, the 7-year-old loves to read. My 20-year-old loves to read, but their
Yeah.
mom reads a lot.
Hmm.
So I'm
I think
thinking
different people learn different ways. I never enjoyed reading. I still don't read much nowadays.
but I don't want to be closed minded.
yeah, yeah,
I want to
yeah.
expand. So
Yeah.
so I need to do something. A lot of times I find myself trying to do something that I find difficult.
I have tried to like sit down and read like even more recently, and it's difficult for me to adapt to. I don't think I've given it like enough of a shot though, because I've only tried it a handful of times, and then I get distracted and I end up doing something else. So it's like I got to really give it like a real honest shot and maybe try it some more because I do think there's a lot of value in it. I think it'd be cool to kind of get like lost in a book and just read.
Like people
But
talk about, right? I've
yeah,
never had that experience.
no, neither have I. I don't know. I
So
don't know what the hell that's like. I've
um,
gotten lost in music and stuff though. Like you listen to a song or you listen to, and it sparks something totally different. It triggers something in your brain that has nothing to do with the actual song or lyric.
well, that's how you do with some movies too. I mean, that's how I was with Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Like I
Right.
related to it so
Yeah.
much. I've literally watched that movie probably over 2,000 times. I've watched it on every flight I was on for a while. I mean,
That's crazy.
it's just one of those things. So I related to it, and it really fired me up and it pumped me up. So when I would watch it, I would draw inspiration from it. So there's certain things like that. And there's videos on YouTube and and people just being around certain people. I just like to be around positive people. I like to be in an atmosphere where I can influence people. I get told so many times, especially like at my gyms at home. I go to 2 different gyms. There's a commercial gym called the Zoo, and that's in Kenner. Like so, it's kind of like right by the airport.
Mhm.
You've been in New Orleans before?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's about 5 minutes from the airport.
Mm.
Um, so you're kind of average every other day lifter, you know what I mean? And
Right.
then I'll also go to the powerlifting gym, Valhalla. But they're 2 different atmospheres. So, and I like both of them because I find when I go to the zoo, people tell me, "Hey, man, dude, as soon as you got here, my workouts just picked up because I love watching you work out because
Oh, that's
you know,
cool.
yeah, right? Because that makes
Yeah.
you mean something because I'm doing what I love and I'm going after my workout and I'm freaking having the best time doing it. And even if on a difficult day, right? I know that I have to turn up because I'm inspiring people. And I know
Right.
even if I have a bad day, I have to bring it up. I got to bring the energy in
Right.
because people are looking to me for that. Even like it doesn't matter what's going on in my life. I could be fighting with my girlfriend. I could have an incident with my brother. I could do this. When I go to the gym, I got to be a whole different animal. No different than when I go to WildKat.
Mm.
If I'm at WildKat Wrestling and I got my students, I got to be a different animal. I can't come in and go, "Oh, life sucks. Oh, man, I just fought with my girlfriend and, oh, blah, blah, blah." Like, no, they don't want to hear that shit.
Right.
They want to say, "Hey, what are you doing today?" "Man, I'm getting after 5 for 5, 315. Let's do this, bench pressing." So, like, really? Well, how are you going to do that? That's a lot of weight. How'd you get to that? And then you break it down or they see you go after. I remember the first time I hit 405, I went in so pumped up to bench 405. The first time, the day I actually hit it, like I made up in my head, I was getting it today. There was nothing going to stop me. I went in and there was this black dude standing across from me, older black dude, probably in his like late 40s, early 50s. And he was standing like 10 feet away from me on the benches right across from me. He's seen me loaded up, and I got my zone, and I'm and kind of getting in, just getting in that mental state, pacing back and forth. I went and I hit it. He came right over to me. He put his fist out, and he goes, "Bro, you got that." Like he said something like that. Like, and he was just like, "Dude, that's." And so I knew, like, I made that guy's day better because it inspired him a little bit.
You got him fired up.
Right, because now every time I see the guy, he comes and talks to me. And it's just like, it's just crazy because of my atmosphere and the energy I brought in, it changed his. And there's another guy there, this guy, his name's Rodney. He's an older black gentleman in his 60s. He had a stroke. This dude was in the gym a month later. His left side was still kind of paralyzed, not all the way. He had a stroke. I didn't see him for about a month. He told me he just came back. He was in there getting after it every day. He hit 3 plates, 60-something years old, man. Like 62, 63, somewhere up in there. 2 months after having a stroke, he's hitting 3 plates. I mean, and this is, not a big guy. Like, not a jack guy. Like, he was forcing himself. And I said, dude, that's so inspirational for me.
Yeah, it gets you fired up.
Right, because I'm like, you don't have an excuse. Like, you had this stroke. And, like, he's like, look, I can't lift my arm past this still. Now he's probably got full range, but, like, at that time, like, he can lift one arm up and then one side he can lift up, like, halfway. So, like, and he's just, every day he's in the gym forcing himself to get better, though. And that's one of those things is, like, he wasn't taking no for an answer. So why should I take no for an answer?
Right.
I'm not looking for an excuse.
You mentioned earlier about, people chasing down their dreams, but at the same time, they should be realistic. Can you touch upon that a little bit more? I think it's important because, like, it's a hard thing to kind of figure out, balance out.
Yeah. Look, you're not playing for when I go talk to these kids and I say, what do you want to be?
I want to be a pro football player.
Every time. I want to be an NBA guy. I want to be a rapper. Every now and then you hear, like, I want to be a veterinarian or something. Or I want, something like that's really obtainable, that's easier with school and stuff. But I said, do you play football now? No. I just told you the story about the girl who wasn't even taking acting classes. Like, how are you going to do that? And keep in mind these are kids, but it's also adults. There's also adults to do it.
Yeah.
If you want to do something and you're not doing anything that that in some way, shape, or form relates to that goal.
You don't have one thing pointing towards it at all. Yeah.
Yeah, then you're just full of shit.
Right.
You're shitting yourself and you're shitting everybody else because be realistic. If you want to be a singer and you're not going and doing gigs or you're not singing, you're not practicing, or you don't even have a voice to sing, you're not going to be a singer. Like, it's just, look, I've never played a guitar in my life, but you don't see me saying I want to be in a band. Like, that's the one thing I haven't done so far is I got to be in a band. Well, I don't play any instruments. I'm never going to do that. Be realistic. Know that what you're good at. And just because you're not good at something doesn't mean you can't get good at it. You're going to have to put the work in. You're going to have to make the progress. You're going to have to put time, effort, money, all that goes hand in hand.
I hear a lot of younger people saying that they don't like something because they're not good at it, and they're I remember, like, even just, like, not necessarily my kids, but other kids that I'm around, and even my own children at some point, like, they didn't like baseball because they weren't good at it. They didn't like, and it's like, well, you're not that good at it because you haven't really done it before.
Right. I mean, I wasn't good at sex when I started. But look at me now.
But hey,
Two kids later.
Check out this link below.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah. It's going to take a lot of practice, right?
That's it. Practice.
It's going to take a lot of time to be able to, like, build into something.
And being realistic, I mean, anything you want to do, you're going to have to put work in and get better at it. And that's what a job too, though. I'm not even just talking about, entertainment. If you're a plumber, if you're an electrician, if you're an AC guy, if you're anything, you have to put that work in, that time, that training. You don't, so you have that experience,
right?
And you know how to make things easier. And, like, one thing I've always kind of juggled with is you say, don't cut corners, but they also say work smarter, not harder. But sometimes working harder makes you better.
Yeah. No, I think the smarter, not harder thing can only be explored after you've already done that kind of work before. So, like, maybe you've learned some things about acting that you don't have to do again, and you can work smarter but not harder. But you can only do that when you have experience.
Right, and it all comes from experience.
And you might say that in a wrestling ring, because like we could tire each other out really quick if we're both really green. But if we know what we're doing and we're experienced, we could take our time, we could slow everything down, and we can work smarter but not harder. But you have to work harder first before you ever even get the opportunity to even think about working smarter.
And I like even just podcasting, doing interviews, I would always go back and I would listen to them several times over and over again, because I don't want to go every other word. And for most people, they're like, oh, that's fine. But for me, it's not acceptable. I'm like, if I'm going to be a public figure and I'm going to be speaking, I do it every now and then, but I try to not do it.
Yeah, because you're going to have transitions where every once in a while you do it. But yeah, I understand.
Right. So I'll go back and I'll look at things and I'll study my performances, no matter what they are, and how I can improve them. I was talking to Ryan over here. Did you see that nice video they did on me last time I was at ST?
Yeah.
They did a wonderful video. Just dropped last week on the channel, on the Mark Bell Slingshot YouTube. There I go saying But Ryan told me that was his favorite video that he's ever done at Super Training. And he goes, dude, your interview is awesome. This is like the best interview. And that made me feel good, because I'm like, I do put a lot of time and effort into trying to make my interviews better and trying to bring some energy to interviews, trying to be active, trying to relate to people, trying to have people want to listen to me. So, and that's not easy.
Right.
But I do it through having all these opportunities and
repetitions.
Right, repetitions. So that's what I do.
Reps and sets, and that's why we always go back on this, podcast. And you
look at that spin kick. You see me take that guy's head off?
That was flawless. I mean, you hear other people talk about it too, but the lifting and life relationship, I mean, they parallel each other so well. You're not going to know these things until you've done a lot of reps and done a lot of sets. And also, too, one thing that happens that's freaking great from fitness is, it seems like it sucks, but it's actually a blessing in disguise. You can work really hard and you can do almost you think you're doing everything right, and you're still not assured that you're going to get that PR. Like you still have to go work for it, and you might still have to scratch your head and go, wow, like I ate really well, I slept really well, I trained really hard, I thought I did everything right, but I still missed that weight. Like, what the hell is going on? And sometimes it's like you just have to keep trying to figure it out, but you can't ever give up.
And you go after it, and eventually you'll get it.
You keep going after it. You keep coming back for more.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to fail. Life's going to have failures, no matter what you do. You're going to get told no. Somebody's going to say you're stupid or it's a dumb idea or you're going to fail at something. But if you're persistent, that's what it all goes back to, being persistent, never giving up. Your old buddy, John Cena, right? Mm-hmm. Never give up. That's how you become successful. Slingshot wasn't built overnight. Super Training wasn't built overnight.
Think about the acting gigs, and somebody said, yeah, you have this, and then they call you back, 10 minutes later and say, no, I'm sorry, you don't.
It took me 2
years. Or
you
show up somewhere, and they're, hey, we don't have time for you. Or, we're going to shoot it next week. And you flew out to somewhere. You don't have any money. You're like, shit, man, like, now I'm in a really weird spot. They're going to film this next week? Like, shit.
It took me 2 years to get so I got my first gig. In 2006, I was filming a TV show for MTV called Wrestling Society X. I got my first movie from there. Was a low-budget indie movie made in Mexico, but it was still my first opportunity. It was a cool project, and they paid me $1,000 a day, which was like absurd to me, because I never made that kind of money before. But that opened my eyes to how I wanted to be involved with more films. So a long story short is I got involved with some people after some hard work and chasing it down and looking up things. I started training at a stunt school with a guy named Phil Dale. So I was training with Phil for 2 years, killing myself until I got my next film opportunity. Now, how many people would do that, right?
Yeah.
Because you would think, oh, I already did one. I can go to the next project, and I do this, and I do that. Or how many people stick with something for 2 years before they even get an opportunity?
Right.
And that's what I did. It was just like I knew if I kept working and I kept training and I kept doing the things I was supposed to do, something was going to come.
And lifting's like that, too. You might lift for 2 years. You might have to lift for 5 years before it even looks like you lift.
Well, I've been lifting a long time now.
And you still don't look like you lift.
Exactly.
You got a lot of work to do, buddy.
I look like shit. And I'm doing my first meet. It took me this long, and that's really because of the B team over here at ST. My boys. So Jess and John and Sal and everybody and Pig. Like we in Cali, they were like, dude, when you gonna do a meet? I was like, well, I'm not Marcus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why would I do a meet? I'm not Marcus. They're like, no, you got to do it for you. And then after seeing people and going to a few meets, because it was intimidating to me. After I went to a few meets, I was like, you know what? And I seen people who didn't compete before, and I was like, they're doing well, and they did this. I can do this too. You know what? I'm gonna go kick some ass. So that's what I started doing, and that's and you're the one who talked me into doing a Super Training Classic because I don't know if you remember last time I was here. I said, hey, I'm gonna do a meet. And you said, oh, yeah, what you going to do? I said, I don't know. Sometime in 2019, I'm going to pick out a local meet. And you said, no, fuck that. You need to come be with the team.
Right.
You need to come out here. The Super Training Classic's going to be in February. You need to come do that. And I was like, well, then that's what I'm going to do.
See, I do a lot of stuff like that, and I forget.
Yeah.
I do stuff like that all the time to people. I like put them on the spot, and then I kind of forget about it.
But, I mean, you did it, so it's like.
I got I'm watching. We're watching these clips of Luke wrestling, and he's got this back spinning heel kick that he does. And I don't know. I don't follow wrestling as much as I used to. But I'm pretty sure. Like I hate to bring this up, but in Louisiana, I'm pretty sure that back spinning heel kick is banned. It's outlawed from there. I'm pretty sure. And I think you're kind of using illegal tactics to get over on these matches.
What are you trying to say here?
I'm trying to say that I think you're playing outside the rules.
That's it. Cut this fucking podcast off right now. Look at that. It's Jerry Lynn. So this was one of my dream matches. So Jerry
cool.
Lynn, yeah, it was cool. But yeah, I got a badass fucking back spinning kick. Maybe I'll show you later.
Hey, now
the gym.
right to the noggin.
If
right?
you've ever seen me stretching, I posted a picture of me and Marcus not long ago. Marcus was helping me stretch.
You got some of that mobility.
Yeah, you get to. My goal is here. I can't be the strongest at ST, but I damn sure can be the most flexible and the most.
Who's your favorite wrestler of all time and why?
Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect and Rick Rude because
Mr. Perfect is able to hit that gum every single time he
every
spit out of his
fucking
mouth.
time he didn't miss it, right? He was just so good, and as a kid, the cartoon characters were great for me, but as I got older and became my teenage years,
Mr. Perfect was great.
He was just awesome. He was just so good
Absolutely
at everything
perfect.
he did. And then I really liked Shane Douglas, which was crazy because you don't know my story with that, right?
No.
I just wrestled Shane Douglas for the first time because he ducked me for like 15 years. We really had bad blood. Like he was my idol in wrestling. And then I worked with him and I had bad blood with him, found out he was a piece of shit. It was like this whole big ordeal. Like when you meet your idol and it's just like, it becomes like, it sucks because they're everything you never thought they were. So,
you did tell me some of that.
Yeah. So
you did tell me
we talked about this probably years ago.
Yeah.
But for 15 years, he wouldn't wrestle me.
You traveled out to him and he wasn't there and all that shit.
It was
right?
a big ordeal, dude. Big ordeal. And he was shitting on me and just talking negative about me because he just didn't see anything in me. I was just a young, skinny kid.
Yeah.
And so I thought.
There's that stretching picture.
Oh yeah, there you go. Look at that.
That's great.
It's not gay. It's stretching.
That's right.
It's super training.
No, you're trying to warm up for squats.
Yeah. Look at them stick legs.
But you guys had some bad blood.
So yeah. So it's funny because when I I got really popular on YouTube for a minute in the wrestling community, not in the world, but because I was coming out and doing these outlandish promos, so to speak, because they weren't really promos, they were coming from the heart. I started calling out Shane Douglas, and I started telling people how I felt about him and the things that happened and how I thought he was a piece of garbage and he wasn't what he seemed to be. And I did that because he didn't see anything in me. He treated me like crap. There's more to the story, but the God's honest truth was he was caught up in his own world. He was on drugs. He was this, that. He just looked at me as a nobody. And I was looking to him for advice because he was my hero in wrestling. He's the guy who really changed the landscape for me as I got older. And to be treated like that by somebody you look up to, it hurts. So at some point I just didn't care anymore. So I started making these videos about him, and they started catching on because people was like, "Man, Luke's crazy. He doesn't care. He's putting all this out there." So long story short, I was challenging him. A couple of people tried to book the match. He wouldn't do the match. He backed out. We were on some of the same shows together. He hired personal security to be with him, and he locked himself in a room to get away from me. Dude, seriously. If you ever talk to Steve Richards, ask him about because Stevie mediated some of it. But eventually, 15 years later, I just wrestled him. came out his box and wanted to wrestle me. And after he apologized to me and he said he doesn't know, like he didn't know why he did the things he did. He said maybe I was caught up in my own world and, but he said that, I proved myself to him and he watched some of the things I did, which was cool, because we're not like best friends,
Right.
but it was cool to end that heat because we had that was all real life stuff. That was real life emotion, real life heat, real life hatred, that kind of like that. It wouldn't be a Cinderella story, but it would be a story where it's like, you thought it was going to be good. It turned out being really bad. And then in the end, instead of having this animosity towards each other, we were able to bury it. And we were able to shake hands and, get some respect from somebody who I respected a lot along the way. And then I lost respect for, and then he earned my respect back by respecting me. So that was a big, big ordeal for me.
Cool,
and
man.
That just happened this year.
Yeah. Where can people find you, Luke?
On Instagram at Luke Hawx 504, LUKEHAWX 504. You can check out our WildKat Wrestling on Instagram as well, and that's at WildKat Sports, cat with a K, K-A-T, at WildKat Sports, all over Twitter, social media, Facebook.
Where are you going to be next? You're going to be like at the LA Fit Expo or the Arnold or any of these different things, or where are you going to be at?
So I'm just signing a new contract. I haven't signed yet, but I was with Isotor, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
They just let me know. They were bought up by a company called Fit Life, and my contract's been up for a few months. We're on a handshake deal right now. They just called me last week and told me that they plan on doing more with me, and instead of just being an Isotor athlete, they want me to be a Fit Life athlete. So I'm sure at some point I'll probably hopefully be at the Arnold with them. I'll be out here for that expo doing the Super Training Classic in February 9th, right?
Yep.
8th and 9th? 8th is the weigh-in?
Yeah, it's a Saturday-Sunday contest, yeah.
I have a big wrestling event Christmas night, WildKat Sports. That's in Metairie, Louisiana. And yeah, I got a couple things in January, but I'd have to look at my calendar to say for sure. But I also have a horror film coming out in March. It hits theaters in March. It's a Bobak Anavari horror film. It doesn't have a title yet. They haven't released the title yet, but I play a cool role in that movie. So that I wish I could tell you the name of it, but I don't know what it is yet. So yeah, a lot of these movies they do that. They have these plans and they change the title or they have a working project and then they change it. So but yeah, that's going to be a big horror film. There's a big budget, national film that hits theaters in March, towards I think the end of March. So I got a nice role in that, and then that Netflix movie with Jamie Foxx will be dropping probably not too long after that, probably summertime.
Cool.
Plus a lot of other projects. I just did the 100th episode of NCIS New Orleans. Just did an episode of Cloak and Dagger on I think that's ABC or Disney. So a lot of work and then a lot of wrestling, and then training my ass off at the old ST. Coming up here and getting some training in.
That's right. Well, that's all the time we got for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Mark Bell's Power Project. As I mentioned earlier in the show, today is it's 10 years since my brother Mike passed away. He passed away December 14th in 2008. And go over to my YouTube channel and check out the video that we made talking about him and basically kind of updating you on how the family's doing. Going through, all those hard times and going through that struggle and everything. My brother was a professional wrestler, as you'll get to see, in this piece and as you learn through Bigger, Stronger, Faster. But in addition to that, he was like a mentor to me. He was an idol to me in a lot of ways. I looked up to him in a lot of ways. I ended up doing a lot of the same things that he did, football, pro wrestling, a lot of those kinds of things. And my brother Chris and I got John Cena into wrestling. And when we got John Cena into wrestling, his first coach was my brother Mad Dog. So my brother, he wanted to have an impact on wrestling. And he got to see a little bit of that impact when John made it. But he never really got to see, John is one of the most successful wrestlers of all time in terms of the amount of money he's been able to draw to the sport and stuff like that. So anyway, check out the video. I think you guys will love it. Rest in peace, Mad Dog. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.